All right. Let me adjust it a little bit there. Got the book. It's not a mini, teeny, tiny book like some people said, so maybe it was and they corrected it. Odd though, there's a foreword that's very short, so I'll read that. The preface is about 15 pages long. The introduction is about 27 pages long. Experiment 1 begins on page 27. We'll see how this goes. We'll see. All right. I'm not going to read any of the inner stuff, all the stuff that's here, all the stuff that's over here. Everybody's saying, oh, this book is amazing, blah, 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 all that stuff. Okay. Forward. Very short little forward by the author? No. By Joyce Barrett, PhD, former NASA biologist. When I was a kid, I asked my Sunday school teacher why miracles occurred in biblical times, but didn't seem to be part of our lives today. She had no answer, and who's to say that they did occur? That's just what was written, but okay. She had no answer, and I gradually came to assume that God, church, and religious stuff were irrelevant and far removed from my own life, even though I never quit longing for something more. I left spirituality behind to pursue science, which at least made an attempt to explain how the world works. Correct. It is a real treat to find Pam Grout's writings, which help doubters like me fill that desire for spirituality. She presents, in a delightful, fun way, at a level anyone can understand, that energy, power, and yes, even miracles are here, now, and available to everyone. The ideas and experiments in this book have helped me grasp, in language that makes sense, many of the things spiritual guides have been teaching for thousands of years. I highly recommend this book to anyone who is seeking to understand spiritual ideas and how they apply to all of us. Even someone like me with doubts about organized religion, well, you and everybody else. As she points out, restraining the mind is much like potty training a puppy. God, that's a good one. You have to keep taking it back outside and pointing out the beauty, the majesty, and the truth. Through simple, delightful baby steps, she guides the reader into awareness that miracles still happen and that there is an amazing energy source available to everyone. Sounds good to me. Sign me up, like I said. A quote from Michelle Longo O'Donnell, creator of Living Beyond Disease. The way we have been perceiving life needs to be rolled away so that which is true can appear. Yeah, how about we first work on making our goal to end suffering throughout the entire world? How about we do that? How about we make that a priority? Nah, we don't want to do that. End poverty, end suffering? Nah, people can suffer, who cares? Anyway, love this quote by Albert Einstein. I'm curious what any atheist would say about this quote. I would love to hear from like Sam Harris or one of those guys. Everyone who, and I assume Albert said this because they're quoting him in the book, everyone who is seriously involved in the pursuit of science becomes convinced that a spirit is manifest in the laws of the universe, a spirit vastly superior to that of man. Albert Einstein, German theoretical physicist. All right, here's the preface. Don't know if I'm going to read this or stop. We'll see how this goes. 2 months before I turned 35, my longtime boyfriend dumped me for a 20-something law student with dark roots. Keep in mind that this was about the same time the single-woman asteroid study came out. The one that publicly revealed that women over 30 have roughly the same odds of walking down the nuptial aisle as they do of being sideswiped by an asteroid. Okay. After several days of lying in bed and staring at my ceiling fan, I came to the conclusion that I had 2 choices left. I could either slit my veins in a warm bath, okay, or sign up for a month-long work-study program at Esalen, the self-improvement mecca in Big Sur, California. Those were your two options, huh? I've never come to those two options. Interesting. Of course, I'm not a female. Knowing how my roommate at the time despised messes, I opted for Esalen. Well, good for you. On the second night there, I met a handsome former surfer named Stan, who convinced me to spend the evening listening to the ocean crashing against the cliffs. We finally fell asleep in one of the massage rooms, huddled together to stay warm. Not that it worked. Not that it worked? Okay, that's a sentence. All right. April winds off the Pacific can be ferocious. And even with our combined body heat, we practically froze to death. Come to think of it, it would certainly have solved my messy suicide dilemma. Okay. Things are appearing in my mouth out of nowhere. I'm kidding. If Stan hadn't been so cute and I hadn't been so desperate to get over the jerk who tossed me aside like some empty bag of Doritos, I probably would have excused myself and gone back to my insulated sleeping bag. But I stayed until the next morning when the dawn's early light revealed that the whole time there'd been a space heater next to the mat where we'd been huddled. A space heater we could have turned on and used to keep warm. In a nutshell, that's what this book is about. There's a space heater, or rather, an invisible energy force that's constantly available for our use, and we haven't bothered to turn it on. Okay, that's a neat way of looking at it. Most of us are totally oblivious to the fact that the space heater even exists. We think of life as a random crapshoot. C'est la vie. Those of us who do know about the space heater, that is, the energetic field that gives us the ability to shape and design our lives, don't understand how it works. We've heard rumors that praying turns it on, that good works keep it going. But no one seems to know for sure. This guru tells us to chant. The next one suggests, this guru tells us to chant. The next one suggests meditation. The one from last year insisted we clean up our thoughts and increase our vibrations. So which is it? Is the energy force really that vague and mysterious? And why does it only work sometimes? At best, it's finicky and fickle. Certainly nothing you can bank on. Or is it? What I'd like to suggest is that this invisible energy field is 100% reliable. It works every time, like a math principle or a law of physics. 2 + 2 always equals 4. Balls drop off roofs always fall. Your every thought always affects physical reality. Seeing is believing. I think she's going to turn that around into believing is seeing, but that's just my guess. Quote, my fingers are being pried off all I think I know. Certainty is very useful, but it can really close your mind off to the true light. David O. Russell, American filmmaker. Okay. So I'm assuming seeing is believing. She's going to say, no, it's believing is seeing, because I've heard that used before. If you've read The Secret or been in metaphysical spiritual circles, I've not read The Secret, but I've heard about it. There's a man who went from being homeless to becoming a billionaire 15 years later after reading The Secret. He's now a billionaire. Andres Pira is his name. You can look him up if you're interested. Bizarre story. If you've read The Secret or been in metaphysical spiritual circles for any time at all, you already know your thoughts create your reality. That there's a power in the universe that can heal, and that you and you alone design your own life. Unfortunately, there's still this tiny little problem, that one itty-bitty catch. You don't really believe it. Not fully. Most of us, in fact, are still operating out of the mental architecture of our ancestors. We think we're running our lives with our brilliant ideas and thoughts. We think we're affirming our intentions and creating new possibilities, but in reality, we're simply recycling old tapes, knee-jerk conditioning, and automatic behaviors, most of which we picked up before we were 5. We're like Pavlov's dogs, simply reacting to patterns we picked up before we had the intelligence to wisely choose. Most of the thoughts we assume are our own are really the invisible and largely unquestioned beliefs we downloaded from others. Oh, like the earth is flat? Couldn't resist. So we pit our positive thoughts against our old, disempowering programming. Our old, disempowering programming. There was a comma there, so I got confused. In other words, our consciousness, that force that always affects physical reality, has been hijacked. Interesting. Not long after I graduated from college, landed a job, and was running my own affairs, I noticed negative thoughts about money, dive bombing for my attention. I found myself worrying, wondering if running out of money was imminent, questioning whether or not I could afford the new bike I wanted or the new computer I needed. One day, during an early morning jog, I suddenly got it. Those thoughts were exact clones of comments my mother often made when I was growing up. And even though there was no evidence to support those fears in my own life, I had downloaded them straight into my consciousness without even being aware of it. Needless to say, that wasn't a paradigm that served my highest good. What is that buzzing? I don't know if that's coming from outside. Hold on a second here. I gotta check this. Okay, that sound was coming from outside, so hopefully it's much better now. My air conditioning's on now. Anyway, needless to say, that wasn't a paradigm that served my highest good. I consciously rewrote the paradigm that ran my financial life to, I can afford anything I want. In fact, I am so prosperous I never need worry again. Okay, right there. I've done this so many times I don't even want to think about it. Saying it doesn't do anything. You can say it until you're blue in the face. I have. It doesn't do anything. So I'm really curious where this is going to go. I can afford anything I want. In fact, I am so prosperous I never need worry again. As an independent freelance writer, I also appointed God as the CEO of my career. All right, now that's sounding like Joseph Murphy's teachings. God is your senior partner, is what he said. I figured there was no way I could run this fickle writing business with the faulty wiring and negative thoughts I downloaded from my past. Clearly, I needed a new energetic imprint. Okay, so seeing is believing did not turn into believing is seen. Okay, never mind. Reality's changed, dude. If we worked, if we worked on the assumption that what is accepted as true really is true, then there would be little hope for advance. Orville Wright, American inventor. The Wright brothers? Is that the one that I'm quoting there, or she's quoting there? I guess so. Even though the reductionist mechanical worldview has been proved defective, it's still deeply ingrained and embedded into our culture. Neuroscientists tell us that 95% of our thoughts are controlled by our pre-programmed subconscious mind. Sure. Instead of actually thinking, you're looking at a movie of the past. All right. I can see that. If you weren't immersed in this nonstop riot of fragmented old school thinking, you'd be modifying your life at will. You'd have no fear around money. You'd have nothing but beautiful relationships. And, oh, if only this were true. And you'd be so ecstatically content that it would never occur to you to pick up a book like this. Quite frankly, I'm glad you did. This little book will prove to you once and for all that your thoughts have power and that a field of infinite possibilities awaits your claim. It will help you rewrite the outdated thinking that drives your life. Instead of making a grand argument, the same grand argument you've read about in all the other books about changing reality, this book has 9 easy-to-try experiments that offer real-time proof. It gives you the opportunity to move from knowing your thoughts create reality to witnessing it happen on a daily, decision-by-decision basis. Okay? I don't know that my thoughts create reality. I think it's very likely that they do. That's where I'm at with that. I have a feeling that that is true, but I have not been convinced yet. But anyway, at this point, it's still a theory. Right. Seeing with your own two eyes that you change reality simply by observing it will rewire your brain and divest you from old conditioning. Absolutely it would. That would totally do it. That's literally why Neville said, I invite you to try it, and then you'll see. Learning through scientific experimentation how deeply you are connected to the field of potentiality will literally set you free. I agree. The magic we threw overboard. This is another little, like when I say something like that, it's written like that. See, the magic we threw overboard. Quote, oh my, how the world still dearly loves a cage. Tess Lynch, writer, gentlewoman, and essayist. Okay, interesting quote. Quantum physics defines the field as invisible moving forces. You can't even see the book where I'm reading. I should hold it up here, shouldn't I? I'm trying to get it in this light, though. All right. Yeah, I guess that'll work. Invisible moving forces that influence the physical realm. Does that look better? Yeah, does that look, I'm trying to make this look good on video, you know? I have to at least try to do that. Let me see how I want to put the, no, that's no good. There we go. No, see, that's not right. All right, let me see how I want to make this better. Nah, that's not going to work. Maybe I don't need that. Maybe I don't need that. How about that? How about we just do that? All right. Quantum physics defines the field as invisible moving forces that influence the physical realm. In this book, you'll learn to use this field of potentiality, I like to call it the FP, to your advantage. Because energy is invisible, and because we're still operating from old school principles that put materiality first, we haven't learned to truly harness this fundamental building block. For the next 21 days, isn't it 18? I thought it was 9 two-day experiments. Okay, whatever. For the next 21 days, roughly the time it takes to do the experiments in this book, okay, you have the rare opportunity to develop a conscious relationship with energy. Even matter, said quantum physicist David Bohm, is nothing but frozen light. Frozen light? No clue. And learn to transform and parlay it into anything your heart desires, whether it be peace of mind, money, or a more rewarding career. You can even direct the FP to provide a vacation to Tahiti. Gee, this sounds too good to be true. It sounds too good to be true. Too good to be true. I hope it's true. I want it to be true, obviously. Take me, for example. A few years ago, I decided to spend a month in Australia. A chiropractor I had. Okay, let's just skip all this. We don't need any of this. This isn't that important. It just isn't. The new curriculum. This looks interesting. Yeah, she just talks about her life and what she went through. Okay, what I know for sure is that the best way to understand a spiritual principle, maybe the only way, is not to read about it in a book. Wait, okay. Anyway, is not to read about it in a book or to hear a speaker explain it from a podium, but to put it into a framework that demonstrates how it works. Seeing it in action, as you will in these experiments, leads to complete and certain conviction. And that's the only thing that will radically release you from old school mental architecture. Then I ask again, why isn't this book selling hundreds of millions of copies worldwide and blowing up bigger than Harry Potter? The new curriculum. Quote, I have to find it here, right here. Bursting uncontainably through the slipshod, dragged down dead center of one ordinary life. Bob Saving, poet and Kansas City sage. Okay. The dude abides principle. This is number 1. This is the basic principle, the foundation upon which all the others rest. Basically what it says is, there is an invisible energy force or field of infinite possibilities. The experiment could best be described as an ultimatum. You're going to give the force exactly 48 hours to make its presence known. You're going to demand a clear, unmistakable sign, something that cannot be written off as coincidence. Number 2, the Volkswagen Jetta principle. Remember that new car you bought a few years ago? When you first decided it was the car of your dreams, it seemed like a unique car. Now my kitty wants to bother me. All right, here we go again. I'm telling you, my cat. There you go. Don't just keep meowing. Basically, that was him saying, open the window, please. I want to feel the heat outside. Although it's starting to cool down. It was the car of your dreams. It seemed like a unique car. You figured you'd be the only one in town to proudly drive one. Well, by the time you read up on it in Consumer Reports, decided on the price you needed to offer, and finally got yourself to the car dealership, you noticed that practically every eighth car was a Volkswagen Jetta, or whatever car it was you wanted. And that's what happens when you begin to think about something. You draw it into your life. Every thought we have, every judgment we make, impacts the field of potentiality. In fact, reality is nothing but waves of possibility that we have observed into form. This principle states, you impact the field and draw from it according to your beliefs and expectations, and to prove it, we'll set the following clear intention. This is what I want to pull out of the field in the next 48 hours. Okay. Number 3, the Albee-Einstein principle. Even though this principle, you too are a field of energy, is one of the cornerstone spiritual principles, it actually first came to light in a physics lab. Yes, it was scientists who discovered that, despite all appearances to the contrary, human beings are not matter, but continually moving waves of energy. We're not matter. Do we matter? No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, in fact, you probably noticed the title of this book is a play on Einstein's famous equation. Yes, E squared. Ooh, okay. This is the only experiment that involves equipment, specially designed, perfectly tuned equipment. Okay, so it's a metal coat hanger. I have no idea what I'm reading right now. A specimen of which I'm assuming, unless you're a complete and total slob, is available in your closet. And a drinking straw. Something you can easily score free of charge at any McDonald's. Why did I just read that? I don't even understand, because that's the end of that. That's how it ends. Number 4, the abracadabra principle. Most people associate the word abracadabra with magicians pulling rabbits out of hats. It's actually an Aramaic term that translates into English as, I will create as I speak. Ooh, cool. It's a powerful concept. It's why Edison often announced the invention of a device before he'd actually invented it. It's why Jim Carrey wrote himself a check for $10 million, yes he did, long before he ever made a movie. Yeah, well, I wrote myself a check too. Why didn't it come true? It was on my wall for years. Taped on my bedroom wall. I finally said, you know what? That was in 2019 I wrote that check. The principle simply says, whatever you focus on expands. And in the experiment, you'll learn that there's no such thing as an idle thought. I question that. And that all of us are way too cavalier and tolerant of our minds wandering. See, this is my problem. I'm just too damn skeptical. I don't buy anything unless I'm convinced that it's true. Because why should I? I could be deceived. You could be conning me. Jake Ducey, I'm 90% certain, 95% certain that Jake Ducey is a con man. But he'll tell you no, he's telling you the truth. This is how it works. And sit there and point with your finger. Every time you do a video, you're going to point with your finger like this to get people to look down there and comment down there. And you're telling people what to say in the comments, and all the sheep go, okay, I will type the very thing that you told me to type. I will type those exact words. Now put it in the comments. Blah, blah. Okay, yes, I will do that. Really? That's what the universe wants us to do? Turn into little robots who obey the people who are talking to us through the YouTube thing? Hey, put in the comments, Lightmane is an amazing man. If you do that, then maybe I have magical control over your mind. I'm going to control you. I mean, seriously, what? I don't get that. All right, here I go, being cynical. Number 5, the Dear Abby principle. This principle states, your connection to the field provides accurate and unlimited guidance. By realigning your consciousness, you can access reliable answers to every request you ever make. The reason you don't know this is because you've taught yourself the most unnatural habit of feeling separate, of not being in communion with the FP. What was the FP again? Well, whatever. She said she calls it something, the FP. All right, that could be true. I accept that as a possible truth. See how I am? It's because after you've been conned so many times, 6, the superhero principle. In this experiment, governed by the principle, your thoughts and consciousness impact matter. You will duplicate an experiment conducted by Dr. Gary Schwartz, a professor at the University of Arizona, which demonstrated that sending intention to plants, I know about this experiment, made them grow faster and reflect more light than their non-intentioned counterparts. Actually, some teenage girls, or like maybe 12-year-old girls, I forget how old they were, did an experiment like this with plants, where the one plant or plants they played classical music to, and they said how much they loved the plant and how beautiful, all the time, just wonderful, wonderful things. And the other plant, they played really I don't know what kind of music it was, but it was really either punk rock or metal, or it was very negative sounding. And they said negative things to the plant. Negative. That plant almost died, that plant bloomed. And I was like, what more proof do you need that plants are affected by this? And they're like, well, that's just one experiment. That proved that doing what they did makes the plant grow and bloom, and one looked great, and doing the other practically killed the plant. And I believe that that's the same thing with children. And so whenever you see a child, as one movie said, this one, I forget the name of the movie, there is no such thing as a bad boy. That was the line that the priest said. There is no such thing as a bad boy. Bad boys are made. I agree. I totally agree. I forget that movie, but man, if we had priests like that today, and I know we do, you just don't hear about them. But anyway, the Jenny Craig principle. This is number 7. Whether you're a label reader or not, you know the food you eat offers certain vitamins, minerals, and of course, calories. You probably think these nutrients are cut and dried, that if the back of the yogurt container says it has 187 calories, then it has 187 calories. What you may not know is that your thoughts about yourself and your food are in a constant dance with your body. And that when you feel guilty about consuming calories, your food picks up a negative vibe that ricochets right back at you. In this experiment, you'll prove the principle. Your thoughts and consciousness provide the scaffolding for your physical body by infusing your food with love. Alrighty, I'm going to start telling my food how much I love it. Alrighty. Number 8, the 101 Dalmatians principle. This all-important spiritual principle states you are connected to everything and everyone else in the universe. I believe that. Scientists call it non-locality, and if you watched the cartoon version of 101 Dalmatians, you saw the principle in action. Remember when Cruella de Vil's evil cohorts were trying to capture the escaped puppies? The old Scottish Terrier in the barn, where they were hiding, barked for help. They were hiding, barked for help. I think she meant to put a comma there. Where they were hiding, barked for help to a basset hound in the next county, who, in turn, barked the message to a dachshund farther along the route. Only in quantum physics, the communication happens instantaneously. Oh, I see. The very instant the Scottish Terrier knows that the puppies require help, the dachshund 20 miles away also knows. Anything that happens to one particle is instantaneously communicated to the other. In this experiment, you'll send messages to people in other places without the use of email, letters, or loud explosions. Uh-oh. Get ready. I'm going to contact you. Anyway. Number 9, the fish and loaves principle. This principle states the universe is limitless, abundant. That's what I say, it's infinite. I believe the universe is infinite. The universe is limitless, abundant, and strangely accommodating. It will also prove, boy, this is reminding me of my second book again. You guys will see it once, if you ever listen to it. You'll know, you'll figure out what I'm talking. You'll realize what I'm talking about when you eventually get there. It's in the chapters around 25 or so, somewhere in there. So it'll take a while. The universe is limitless, abundant, and strangely accommodating. It will also prove that your fears are pointless. Wow. And that maybe it's okay to take a big, deep breath. In bold, a truer, grander vision. Quote, you can never change things by fighting the existing reality. Oh, this is Buckminster Fuller. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. Buckminster Fuller, American futurist. I hope it's comforting to know that you won't be the first to use your life as an experiment. When the late, great, is it coincidence that I've been mentioning Buckminster Fuller lately? When the late, great R. Buckminster Fuller was 32, he decided to conduct an experiment to see what one penniless unknown individual might be able to do on behalf of humanity. Dubbing himself Guinea Pig B, he dedicated himself to bringing about change in the world. At the time he started the experiment, he was what you might call a nobody. Okay, this is not what I heard, but I'll tell you what I heard unless it ends up saying what I've heard. Bankrupt and unemployed, he had a wife and baby to support. His first child, the baby's older sister, had just died. Jeez. He had been drinking heavily. His prospects didn't look promising. But he decided to cast aside the past, to give up limiting thoughts. I've never heard this before. He wanted to know, what could one person do to change the world? Wow. For the next 56 years, he devoted himself to his unique experiment. He took risks. He asked, what if? I was told he became a recluse and went into isolation for years. I don't know how many years, like a couple years or something. And just thought. Was looking for inspiration or something. Not only did he become an architect, an inventor, an author, and a great leader of men, but between 1927, when he launched the experiment, and his death in 1983, wow. He wrote 28 books, received 44 honorary degrees, registered 25 U.S. patents, and literally changed the way humans see themselves. Okay, there's more about him that I don't know then. I just knew for his geodesic dome. That's what I hope E Squared will do for you. I hope it will change the way you see yourself. I hope it will inspire you to conduct an experiment with your own life. Not if it's going to take me 56 years, baby. Oh, no. Well, let's see. I'll be 109. Yeah. No, I'm going to need quicker results than that. I hope it will inspire you to conduct an experiment with your own life, to use your energy to become the most fantastic, the most joyful, wondrous, beautiful, tender human being you possibly can. Wow. Okay. Wow. And with that, I'm going to stop. We'll do the introduction next time. Hope you enjoyed this. Now I got to watch this and see if it's worth posting or if I need to redo it. I really don't know. I'll talk to you all later. Hope this was fun for everybody. See ya.